everyone. Welcome to the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free bourbon podcast for Monday, June 9. I am Ed from BourbonObsessed.com, also known on Instagram as Bourbon_Obsessed. I publish bi-weekly newsletters featuring the latest bourbon news and releases, and also do this podcast version for your listening pleasure. This week, we have some good news about brand partnerships and distillery openings, as well as continued news about financial difficulties in the distilling world. My usual co-host, friend, and bourbon aficionado, Dean Langdon, could not join us again this week. However, my wonderful and very knowledgeable wife, Karen, has once again agreed to join me. Karen, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you, Ed. I'm doing well. Let's not make this a habit, or keep making this a habit.
Well,
Dean, please come home.
Come on, you love it here. Have you done anything interesting in the bourbon world this week?
It was a pretty quiet week for me. You did a couple things.
Well, you did too.
What did I do?
You went to the Lexington Bourbon Society
Right,
Commonwealth Bash last
Yeah.
night, which was a very nice
That
event.
was. The Commonwealth Bash raised some funds for the Henry Clay estate, which had gotten funds canceled recently from, it turns out, the federal government. But anyway, so we did. I think those guys raised a lot of money. We scored a basket for the Michters, which was nice. And lots of...
At the silent auction for a good cause, of course.
Yes.
Not for ourselves.
No. But they had all the local small distilleries, which was nice. You got to taste, you said, a lot of stuff that you had not really had an opportunity to do, and chat with the folks at each place. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great
Penhook
event.
was there, Lexington Distilling. Who else was there?
Barrel House.
Barrel, RD1.
RD1.
Yeah.
The Bard.
Yep, the Bard.
Bespoke and Spirits.
Oh, yeah, Makers was there, too, I saw. Yeah, they had a small table.
I didn't see Makers.
Yeah, they had a small table behind. Yeah.
Some Michters.
Yep, and Michters. So, yeah, that was fun. It was
And I'm
nice.
sure we've forgotten somebody's. Oh, Castle and Key.
Castle and Key. That's good food paired with some cocktails.
Yeah.
Which is really, the food was great. And there was also a...
and 15 stars. How could I forget them?
Yeah, 15 stars. But the raffle, too, was cool. So for $25, you could throw your raffle ticket in the hat for... It was a Sazerac, or it was a Tom's Handy, a birthday bourbon, and an old Fitzgerald bottle, which was really cool.
Old Fitzgerald.
Yeah, from the 60s.
Yeah.
So... unfortunately, we left empty-handed with those, but it was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah, and I think there was a very good turnout, and I think they raised a fair amount of money for the cause. So
Yeah, and we avoided the weather, which was nice.
yeah, well, we had our local weatherman, Bill Meck, there,
Yeah.
so that assured us that our weather was perfect.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a little drizzly, but but he did a good job of keeping the weather under control.
Keeping the storms away.
And then we'll dive right in, but then I was also a guest judge at the IWSC judging, which took place at Heaven Hill Bourbon Experience this week, and that was a really interesting and fun and great experience.
Yeah,
So,
a little stressful, you said, though.
well, it's a little stressful judging everything. Sort of matters what you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that'll be great, and I'll be telling everybody more about that soon.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's dive right in. So Lisa Wicker, who we were just actually talking with last week, formerly of Widow Jane Distillery and more recently of Garrett County Distilling, which we've talked about quite a bit, has been appointed as the Director of Distilling at Whiskey Thief Distilling. She's a great addition to the brand, and we wish her all the best. Whiskey Thief operates 2 locations, its original 127-acre farm distillery in Franklin County, and a tasting room in Louisville's New Lou neighborhood. Both venues offer guests the unique opportunity to sample and bottle bourbon directly from the barrel, hence the name, and you can learn more about them on their website. But yeah, Karen, what do you think of this?
Well, that's a great addition, I think, for Whiskey Thief. They scored a good one. Lisa's got tons of experience, and I didn't realize that she came to Kentucky originally, and she was telling me this when we saw her a few weeks ago. So she came to help set up a winery, and then that was her day job, and then it turns out she had met Steve Beam along the way somewhere. So she was gainfully employed helping that get off the ground, and apparently there was some sort of divorce, and so what lost out, and she stated that's what usually happens, is the winery just got shuttered. So no longer gainfully employed there, she went to work for Limestone and cut her teeth there with the help of Steve Beam, and then went on to work
I forgot she was actually at Limestone.
Yeah, so she was at Limestone there. Then she went on to work for Starlight as a distiller.
Okay, so that came after, so I don't know what the original winery was.
Yeah, and then the Preservation. She was at Preservation for a short time. Then she made her big move to New York, where she worked with Widow Jane. She was there for almost 5 years, and
pretty much built that brand.
Yes, did a great job, and then came back here to go to work for Lexington Brewing, and then
distilling,
and
which
that
is
was
town branches of the distillery. For those that don't know, but she was also in charge of the Irish distillery. And
it was their whole. I think it was their whole
Pikeville one.
Whole portfolio, and then left, got hired at Garrett's, and that didn't work out, which is probably all for the best, really, for her. So now Whiskey Thief has really got someone with great experience, brand development. They do a good job. They're mostly limited to single barrels, I think, is their
I guess
gig.
they don't know what they're...
So perhaps they're going to maybe branch out and do some small batching, or...
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
We don't know that firsthand.
We do not know that.
At least
We are
can
speculating.
Put her blending skills to work and get some good small batches out there. But yeah, Whiskey Thief, I've been very impressed with what's been coming out of there lately. Really enjoy their stuff. So she's a fantastic addition to that.
And their tourism really took off because people really like going to the distillery near Frankfurt to pull direct from the barrel.
Right. Well, now they can do it in Louisville.
I know, but everybody I talked to is like, oh, we went to Whiskey Thief. It was so fun. So they really, whatever they're doing there, I haven't been. I know you've been. People really enjoy it. So that's fantastic.
It's a very fun experience. I mean, I guess more and more distilleries are starting to have those experiences where you can thieve from the barrel, but there's still not all that many of them. And it's a very nice experience, and you get to choose to fill your own bottle as well. And like I said, their whiskey has been
really good,
very good. Yeah.
All right.
So that's exciting.
Yes. Congratulations.
All right, moving on to our next story. All right, this next one's an interesting one. Binder's Stash, which is essentially an independent bottler, previously rumored to have bottled some Willett bourbons under their label. I mean, not secretly, on the level, of course, as well as some other brands, other distilleries, whiskeys. A couple days ago, announced a landmark strategic partnership with the iconic Willett Distillery, according to the brands. The partnership provides Binder's Stash with unique access to Willett's coveted inventory, including experimental mash bills and limited barrels, fueling the brand's mission to create deeply expressive, high-end whiskeys with unmatched provenance. In addition, Binder's Stash will benefit from Willett's state-of-the-art bottling operations and expansive distribution platform across domestic and global markets. That's interesting, and we're certainly going to be looking forward to trying these whiskeys one of these days. Or I will, since Karen doesn't drink.
When did you first hear of Binder's Stash?
I think I had heard about it by seeing posts on
Instagram, social media
originally, but I never got to try it until we were at Mr. Tubbs, and they had a good selection of them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know anything. Like, I'd never seen a bottle, heard a bottle. You don't see it on the shelves.
You were with me when I tried it.
Did not pay attention. I don't remember that.
Okay.
It's been a while since we've been there.
Yeah.
But I was digging in to Binder. This gentleman, Bill Binder, started off because I was like, how do you get access to Willett? It's pretty. It's a pretty good score.
Yeah.
So, but he'd been in the. He's in his 40s, mid 40s, I think. But he'd been in apparently the bar business for a long time. Grew up in the Northeast, moved down to Florida. Started a bar program, setting up bars, setting up beverage programs for restaurants and bars, I guess. And he started in 2018 a YouTube series, docu-series about whiskey, and basically traveled to 10 states, over 25 cities, filming different brands. I saw him, I just kind of did a quick overview, but went all the way to Oregon, to Texas, obviously Kentucky. So very well kind of versed, doing that. And then, so got some good experience, loves apparently whiskey, bourbon in particular, it sounds like. But the guy is really kind of on top of it, and it doesn't seem like it's a fly-by-night. But they didn't bottle until 2022. They launched their whiskey brand, so it's still relatively new. And they are now really probably going to have some great bottles.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it.
Yeah.
They're going to have access to it like I don't believe anybody else has ever had. Not that.
Well, the California company has done Wolves and Willett.
Right.
That is one I know of. What band did a Willett? The Kamiachi bottle.
Yeah.
Those are the only two I really am aware of where they partnered or, allowed their name to be used in line with another company.
Yeah. They did something. Well, they've done the beer that Willettized, right?
Oh, yes.
And then they've done...
Very few, though. Very few things. Not many. Probably count on one hand what they've done. So this is great. High-end whiskey, though. High-end. They're looking to, according... And this was from their press release, is to produce ultra-premium American whiskey. Deeply expressive, high-end whiskeys with unmatched provenance. So Willett will certainly provide that, and probably the price will be pretty high-end as well, too, but time will tell.
Well, they were expensive pours when I tried them at Mr. Tubbs, but
yeah.
I was interested in trying the brand since I never had, but...
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, well, good for them. That's great. We'll look forward to spotting stuff on social media, because I don't believe you'll be able to walk into a store and purchase something.
We'll probably still see them at some of the bars around here, but yeah,
that could be true.
Or maybe one, Mr. Tubbs. We'll see.
They may have a connection.
All right, so moving on to some of our typical financial type news. According to the Lexington Herald Leader, Whiskey House of Kentucky, a state-of-the-art distillery in Elizabethtown that opened just recently in July 2024, is facing a $1.65 million lien filed by Busick Construction for unpaid labor, materials, supplies, and equipment. The lien, which was filed May 28th in Hardin County, comes as Whiskey House continues 24/7 production. According to the lien, Busick also has a $6.3 million contract with the distillery for additional construction and may be entitled to a lien securing that payment as well. CEO David Mandel expressed confidence that the matter will be resolved quickly, citing a long-standing working relationship with Busick. In a separate matter, Whiskey House has filed a lawsuit against Taj Mahal Barrels, claiming breach of contract over a bulk barrel purchase agreement, and has filed a motion for default judgment for more than $5.1 million. Mandel noted the lien and lawsuit are unrelated and declined further comment to the Herald Leader, not us, on pending litigation. So what do you think of those stories? I mean, we have a few financial stories every week. They're usually not on the positive side.
Well, what I found interesting was looking into Whiskey House is that last year they raised $145 million in credit for their distillery, and they had a $25 million revolving credit line. So the 1.65 million seems like a little drop in the bucket. It's hard to know what the...
Well, but I mean, they had to build the distillery.
I know, but...
And operating costs and...
Yeah, okay. They've got... But it sounded like they had money secured to work on the project. And now that money is not being used to pay their costs. So it's also interesting that Busick is a local, main local probably builder of distilleries and rickhouses and such in the Kentucky region, and everybody knows everybody. So hopefully they get it worked out amicably. So
yeah, well. Yeah, I mean, we certainly don't know the details, it does come as a surprise because I guess if without knowing anything specific about them, I thought Whiskey House would not be having this kind of a issue. So, I mean, there's obviously more about this than
but they're filing a lawsuit. Whiskey House is filing a lawsuit for breach of contract for barrels. My guess would be barrels produced. I don't know if those barrels are already produced. I mean, they're still distilling, so I'm assuming so. So somebody's backed out of a purchase from contract distilling, it sounds like, and
which we've reported other things on. Where
that's got to hurt.
Well, and that hurt MGP. That similar kind of decreased demand for contract distilling and sourced whiskey.
So things are getting a little tight all around.
Yeah, I mean, I assume everybody's solvent and it's just a cash flow issue. But again, I mean, we don't know the exact details. No. So hopefully that will turn out well for everybody.
Yeah, we want Whiskey House to keep on producing and be successful. That's for sure.
So for our next story, it's a little, well, it's got both a brighter side and a darker side. So starting with the brighter side, Luca Mariano Distillery in Danville, Kentucky, announced their official grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony of their bourbon estate for 4 p.m. on Friday, June 13th at according to an article on their Facebook page. The article also states that Luca Mariano is announcing a new partnership with Summit Investments of Denver, Colorado. The article goes on to say that Summit Investments will serve as the company's lender and strategic supporter of its growth in the bourbon industry. The new facility will feature an 18-inch column still with a capacity of 18,000 barrels annually. The distillery also features what they are calling a torta a tre rickhouse, similar in design to Heaven Hill's tiered Deatsville rickhouses, which are very cool. Tours will be available starting Friday, June 13, and will be able to be booked at lucamariano.com. And we've never been down there, even though it's not that far away. So I'll be interested to see how that goes.
Yes. Well, if it'll actually happen.
Well, that's our next story. should we say that now?
Yeah, just combine them because it's very important, I think.
Surprisingly, the next story is that, unfortunately, in spite of their grand opening, the distillery seems to be having some issues. The Lexington Herald Leader, again, reported that Luca Mariano Distillery is facing significant financial challenges. Multiple contractors have filed liens and a lawsuit totaling at least $3.8 million for unpaid construction work. Keystone Industrial, a construction contractor, has filed a lawsuit and lien for nearly $1.3 million, alleging non-payment for completed work. Additionally, Doss and Horkey, the general contractor, claims over $2 million in unpaid labor and materials and has filed a lien and lawsuit. The contractors are asking the courts to foreclose on the property and sell it to satisfy the debts. Additional other liens have also been filed against the distillery. So Yeah, it's a very interesting to have simultaneous announcements of opening and people asking you to be sold off and closed. So,
well, I took a look at their website, and so the gentleman he had an interest in distilling. I forgot his name. I can't remember his first name. But he began I think up in Michigan, had an interest in distilling. Started kind of in his garage. A friend, a neighbor said, by the way, that's illegal. And then so he ended up trying to get a distiller's license. So in Kentucky, he finally did get a DSP in 2013 at the very end, like the very end of December. He got a DSP.
In 2013?
In 2013.
Wow.
So, but between then and now, like according to, again, this is taken directly off the website. So 2015, they contracted to have 240 barrels distilled. We knew that they contracted with Wilderness Trail, right? Yeah. And at the time, the barrels were also stored at their facility. 2016, another 240 barrels. 2017, 480 barrels. And they also bought a 553-acre farm in 2017.
Also there in Danville.
In Danville, yes. Yeah. 2018, they had 750 barrels distilled. Again, still working with Wilderness Trail, getting and having barrels stored there. Then in 2019, they actually started releasing some of that product, and with the Old Americana bourbon and the Old Americana rye. 2020 introduced some single barrels, so you really wouldn't have seen anything in the marketplace. And they only released it in around Nashville and Kentucky, and I think Michigan. And then in 2022, they actually completed the rick house before they even had a distillery. And so then they end up moving all their barrels to their farm in that rick house.
But I wonder if that, when Wilderness Trail sold to Campari, though, they had to remove, not just them. I mean, I thought everybody was pretty much having to remove their barrels from there. I wonder if they, now I can't remember what year that was. But
that was probably,
it was probably related to that.
It was probably 2022. I think that's when it was.
They had to.
Yeah, Campari did. But this Summit Investments specializes in distressed debt acquisitions. So hopefully, they'll be able to make this work so they can have that grand opening and start distilling and socking away bourbon. But as we know, it's, at least a couple of years down the road before you can release anything that's generally worthwhile. But
they have their other stocks to sell till then.
Yes. So they still have barrels to sell, but not a ton. So, yeah.
I thought they've actually been distilling. I mean, this is the grand opening, but I did not. I thought they had actually been distilling for a little while.
I could not find that, but
they weren't open to the public.
I can't dispute that, so I don't know.
People went down there for barrel picks, but I don't know the specifics.
Yeah. Well, we wish them well. Another pretty decent-sized distillery in Danville, which is, 45 minutes from Lexington here, so hopefully everything works out for them.
Yeah, I mean, we had heard all sorts of rumors, and apparently that's true. But the grand, it's just very strange to have a simultaneous announcement.
Also, too,
the grand opening.
When you were mentioning what I thought was kind of a bummer is Dawson Horkey, which was the general contractor. So not only did they do work for Luca Mariano, but they also had done work for Garrett County. So these poor guys are like out some serious cash, and I hope that they get to recoup some of their some funds for their work because they worked on both of those projects. And I tried to check. There's no update on Garrett County, any information there. But
I mean, it's the same kind of things that happened in Prohibition. There's a big trickle down effect when just when alcohol stops selling, and it's not just like the distilleries that are affected. It's everybody that has anything to do with them, making barrels, making brick houses, building, farmers who sell the grain.
Yeah.
I mean, the lesson probably wasn't learned because nobody ever learns lessons, but that was learned during Prohibition. But that's a distant memory for pretty much everybody.
Right. Well, fingers crossed. Let's hope they stay in business.
Yes. Our next story, it's semi along the same lines. The Louisville Courier-Journal reported that Brown-Forman has sold its recently closed Louisville cooperage to Independent Stave Company subsidiary Kentucky Cooperage Investments LLC for $13.66 million. The 16-acre facility, which opened in 1945 and formerly produced half of Brown-Forman's barrels, ceased operations in April 2025 as part of the company's global cost-cutting efforts. Independent Stave does not plan to restart production and intends to resell the property. The sale follows earlier transactions in which Brown-Forman divested other stave mills and cooperage assets to the Missouri-based maker, Independent Stave. Brown-Forman expects the cooperage closure to save them $70 to $80 million annually. So, yeah, if it's not profitable for them to make their own barrels, but you certainly lose some control. But interesting. But also interesting that Independent Stave doesn't plan to restart production and plans to sell it. That seems unusual because I thought Independent Stave was going to buy it and still just provide Brown-Forman's barrels, but that apparently isn't going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't know that they need another facility. I think what they want to do is not necessarily, I don't want to say corner the market, but they're going to sell off the property eventually is what they've said. They have no, sell off the goods, sell off the property, that, the production has ceased. They also purchased, Brown-Forman sold the Alabama
the Jack Daniels
Daniels last year.
But they're still running that as far as I know.
Right, but they didn't need another one. They already have one in Moorhead. They have another one, in Lebanon. So, yeah, they're just kind of making sure, I guess maybe nobody else can move in and start a cooperage.
I don't know. That's what I was wondering. I mean, are they just completely disassembling it as a cooperage?
Yes.
And
then they haven't done that yet, but that's what I understood to be happening. And Brown-Forman is now officially out of the barrel making business. So,
yeah, which is just very interesting considering that used to be one of the things that set them apart, that they made their own cooperage and allowed them to do some interesting things.
Actually, Distillery Trail from January has a really interesting, and I'd love to credit the person who wrote it, but it says it's by Distillery Trail, and I didn't click the blog link. But so that distillery, or that cooperage, was known as the Bluegrass Cooperage. Mm-hmm. Started in 1945, right after the war. But Brown-Forman didn't actually buy it until 1994,
right?
Which is around the same time they started Woodford, I think, right? So, but the person who wrote the article, it was her husband's grandfather who really helped make that cooperage successful. And he's still around. He's 95.
Maybe he'll buy it back.
Yeah, well, no, they think he's out. But he also, it's the same gentleman who started, so you may know the name, but apparently, according to this story, Brown-Forman had a long-standing policy of forced retirement at 65. The author is not sure that is still the case. But if you think about Lincoln Henderson retiring and doing something else, her husband's grandfather founded Zac Cooperage after he left. So,
interesting.
Yeah, so he wasn't done, even though they wanted him to be done. He wasn't done making barrels. So, I thought that was... and this even says that alongside his son Bruce, they cut staves to sell back to Brown-Forman. So I just thought, well, that's amazing how things roll around. But
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So check out that Distillery Trail. It's from January this year. It's a very interesting article.
Yeah.
So
we'll do that.
There you have it.
So our next story, well, I can give a little plug to what we're sipping on here. Well, me.
Sure.
So this is Bourbon Rabbi's rye. It's an 8-year-old rye at, I believe, 98 proof and very reasonably priced. And, you know, as a disclosure, I am friends with Chaim, who is the bourbon rabbi who owns the brands and also is the one that certifies many of the distilleries we all know and love as kosher. But it's a very good rye at a very reasonable price, and my review's coming soon, Chaim.
And it's a Kentucky straight bourbon rye, correct?
Yes.
Yes. What I love about the bourbon rabbi bottles is that they sit on the shelf, not sideways, I guess you would say.
Right, but they're flask-shaped, except that it's the narrow side that has the front label.
Long ways, so the little skinny part is the one you see sticking out with with the label on it, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's kind of a neat little... it certainly differentiates them on the shelf, which is nice.
Well, and it makes it better for bar presence because people don't like the flat...
Yes.
When the wide side of these bottles is forward, it takes up too much space. It's hard to grab.
Yeah.
This one, the narrow side, so nobody's going to be sticking it, somewhere else because it can fit right up there anywhere you have space.
Looks good. Well done.
Very wise decision.
Yeah.
Anyway, very good rye, and my review's coming soon. I know it's been a little while, but it's coming soon.
Okay.
All right, our next story. According to a recent announcement from the company, Sazerac is launching Legacy to Forge. I'm not sure that's how you actually pronounce it, but a new global e-commerce platform now live at legacytoforge.com. Powered by BlockBar and built on blockchain technology, Legacy to Forge offers collectors around the world direct access to some of Sazerac's most discerning brands. The site will sell whiskey through 3 channels: auctions, a first-come, first-served type model, and a while supplies last type model. Legacy to Forge is powered by BlockBar and an NFT, which is a digital token. They were in the news a while ago, all constantly, and now they sort of have faded, but they do still exist, is minted for each item on the site. The physical bottle is held in BlockBar's storage facility, so the token can either be held, you can redeem it for the bottle, or you can sell it, and then someone else can do what they want with it. So just another way to distribute Sazerac's products, and they've had other partnerships with BlockBar recently. The charity auction that they just did
wasn't that the first thing that they did with them, or not?
I don't know if it's I don't know that, but that was certainly a recent thing they've done with them.
Yeah. This I don't get this.
Why not?
Well, I don't get this. I don't get the blockchain technology.
Well, that's what, Bitcoin.
If they're holding the bottle, and it's got your name on it, I don't understand the whole blockchain thing.
Well, it's digitally securing it as uniquely.
It's not digitally secured anything. Your bottle is not anywhere that you probably know of.
Well, when you buy Bitcoin, your money's not anywhere
That's
that you
right.
know of
I'm
either.
I'm not buying Bitcoin either.
It's the same idea.
No, I understand. I just don't get the point. But okay, yeah. And as I read,
I just bought a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. No, I was reading. I don't know anything about what are these NFTs? These what are they called? Non-fungible tokens. There's basically very little regulation over these either. So
well, I don't think there's any regulation over cryptocurrency.
Right.
There's
point. Nothing. So it's kind of be careful what you do. Spending cash for something that you don't really know anything about. So yeah, it is not my cup of tea. Hopefully, it works out for Sazerac.
Well,
they do show on that website that what goes to auction, what's first come first serve. It's kind of different levels of their bottles. Mm-hmm. So
sort of based on the rarity.
Right. So the auction has the
last drop type stuff.
Yeah, the more sought after, rare releases, and there was a Well, it showed a bottle of Blanton's Gold, but it was 35,000. I'm assuming that's for the whole barrel that was
Yeah, I don't know.
auctioned. But yeah, so it's if you're like Sazerac products, now you have another avenue worldwide, right? Worldwide. This is people have access to this all over the place. I think that was kind of the point.
But I mean, other people have set up this sort of model where you don't really, they safely store your bottles for. It may have started with wine, but it certainly goes for spirits now, where people these companies store your products in a secure vaults. I mean, some are literally vaults.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Block Bar or if it was another company, but one of them actually uses vaults.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you just have this token, which is your representative of it, and you can do what you want. If you want to drink it, they'll send you the bottle. But if you want to just hang on to it forever, it's an investment, or sell it.
That's what it sounds like.
You just trade it.
A lot of people do.
Well, that's what it's mainly set up for.
Is to set up, you buy it, and then you sell it for a profit.
Yeah, because if you're going to drink it, you probably don't necessarily want somebody else holding your bottle.
Right.
I'd just as soon have it here.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we don't do any of the investment stuff really, so I have a little hard time relating.
Well, not like that.
No, well, not like anything. But we haven't really bought anything to.
Well,
I mean, not. We have a lot of whiskey, but we have not bought it explicitly to. It's more of that I can't drink it all.
Well, remember what happens.
I die
if
and
you
you
should
sell
go
it.
first. Yes, I'm making a lot of money.
So at some point, Karen's going to be issuing NFTs.
That's right.
Because it's the only way she's going to be able to actually sell it, because you can sell the NFTs, whereas you can't legally sell alcohol. So don't get any ideas. All right,
what's next?
Well, our last story is another financial one. So VinePair is reporting that Republic National Distributing Company, RNDC, the nation's second largest wine and spirits distributor, will withdraw entirely from the California market by September 2nd, 2025. The decision follows significant account losses and escalating challenges in the market. The move was confirmed by RNDC's head of corporate communications, with the company pledging to meet its regulatory obligations and support affected employees during the transition. The Teamsters Union, which represents approximately 500 RNDC sales staffers in California, is now working with members to navigate the impact of this development. Speculation continues regarding whether RNDC plans to sell off assets or position itself for acquisition, but details of this news story are still developing.
Well, when I was reading about this, it doesn't sound like they're going to be selling anything for acquisition. They're just getting out.
But there's a bunch of brands that won't be represented.
I know.
In California.
Oh, well, and the wine industry is where it really hits the most. Because, a lot of these small wineries use them to distribute across the state, and now, boom, they have nobody. So that is unfortunate. Also interesting, though, is when I was reading about what led up to this. So they had lost some big brands.
Yeah.
They lost Tito.
Brown-Forman.
Right, they lost Tito, and then they lost Brown-Forman. And not according to their current president, for any performance issues. Brown-Forman in particular is trying to, I wouldn't say reorganize, but they're trying to cut their costs. And so they not only changed in California, but they've changed in 10 other states, and they're continuing to add states to that. So, it just became not profitable for them anymore, which seems crazy.
Right, that's what...
It just seems crazy given the fact that they're a $1 billion company.
And California.
California is a huge spirits market.
Yeah.
Wine market, even though wine, I guess, is kind of taken a little on the downside right now. But yeah, it's really unfortunate for the folks who worked for them there. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's crazy. I assume whoever absorbs them will then need more people working for
Yeah.
them. So hopefully
Yeah.
anybody that loses their jobs will just
Well, you could bring your accounts with
get
you.
hired on there.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But that's crazy considering how big a company RNDC is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole wine and spirits industry is not smooth sailing at the moment.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. That's for sure.
Oh, and we didn't talk about tariffs, which we're not going to.
We did not talk about tariffs.
But I don't think they help. All right. So that about does it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon and Distillery News Podcast, your commercial-free, and therefore money-free, bourbon podcast. Be sure to join us next Monday for our new Bourbon Releases Podcast. We already have quite a bit to talk about. Also, be sure to like and follow us at your preferred podcast provider so that you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to tell all your friends, too. You can also head over to bourbonobsessed.com to check out some of our over 300 bourbon reviews and over 50 distillery write-ups. While you are there, you can also sign up to have my newsletters delivered directly to your inbox. Finally, I can also be found on Instagram at bourbon_obsessed and on Facebook at bourbon obsessed, and would love for you to follow me there as well. Karen, where can they find you, or do you still not want to be found?
Yeah, I still don't want to be found.
Okay.
But thanks for having me back, Ed.
Thanks for joining me.
Dean, I hope you're here next week.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. Cheers.
Bye.